Welcome to the Styxxoplix show. I am your host, Styxxoplix, here with episode 202, Future Magic with Phil Farber. Hello, Phil. How we doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Are we
Doing
calling?
well.
Where are we at? The moon? Where we calling from?
Yes, I've been living on the moon. It's quiet here, less snow than in New York.
Okay. Is it upper state New York, or is that where we're calling from? Or
Yeah, I'm in upstate New York where there's a lot of snow and more to come.
okay. Well, let's go right into it then. How about we talk about your first book? It's Future Ritual, right? The Magic for the 21st Century. Is that your first book that you wrote?
Yeah, that's the first book I wrote. That I wrote that around 1990, and it got published in 95. I actually wrote that at the encouragement of Robert Anton Wilson, who one day we used to promote his events and he would stay at our house. And one day we were sitting around and uh, he was telling me stories of, oh, I was in Europe and I met so and so, and I went out to Colorado and I met so and so, and we did this. I'm like, wow, I would love to do, travel around and meet people like that and do stuff like that. And he said, well, Phil, write a book. So that stuck in my brain, and I did. I had material because I had been practicing magic and actually teaching workshops and so on. So I had
Okay.
a fair amount of material, and it became a book.
So when did you meet Robert Anton Wilson, actually?
Oh, good Lord. Uh, a long time ago.
Was it in the
Uh,
70s or
it was probably in the, geez, let me try to think about this one. Uh, Early 80s, I guess, 80 something, 81, something like that.
okay.
Originally went and he used to do uh, some lectures and stuff uh, there was an OTO place down in New York City, and also at the New York Open Center. And my friends and I would go down and check out the workshops, the lectures. And I met him briefly there, and shook his hand. I love your books, and
Hmm.
but it wasn't until a couple of years later when my wife and I opened up Thelemic Art Center, which we had a venue for workshops. And of course, Bob Wilson was like number one on our list of people who we wanted to be there. So I had a phone number for a guy who was uh, helping to book his events and stuff. And I called the number, and we got him to come out. And so that's where I really met him, and where we got to hang out and so on. And he became our uh, I don't know. I think he was probably the most frequent presenter at our place over the years. So
So how did that come about, you being a faculty member of Maybe Logic Academy? How's that story go?
that's another Bob Wilson.
Yeah, yeah, right there. Maybe Logic, of course, the Anton Wilson
I mean, that was his
thing. Yeah.
his venue that a couple of guys who did the Maybe Logic movie set up, and uh, he last bunch of years, last decade of his life, I guess, he got to teach some workshops and stuff on there, and recommended various of his friends and colleagues to come and teach classes too. And so I felt very honored to be part of that. That I was part of that faculty along with people like uh, Peter Carroll and
Ah,
Antar Ali, and lots of other good folks. So that was quite an experience. It was fun.
nice. So how about Genesis P. Orridge? How did that come about? Meeting him with the introduction
Oh
of Maybe.
boy.
Hey.
Uh, well, I used to my job back in the day, back in the late '80s, early '90s, and so on. I was a journalist and on the arts and entertainment beat, and so I got to interview an awful lot of artists and musicians and actors and a lot of just pretty much everybody who was, if they were doing anything in the area, I had license to call them up and do an interview. And at one point, Psychic TV uh, was playing in the area, and I had been a fan for some years. I had found some of their records in a very obscure record shop in New Paltz, New York. And the records had, if you've ever seen the old vinyl Psychic TV albums, they had a
Mm.
lot of magical symbolism and magical essays and weird things on the covers. And so, I'm looking through this obscure record store for, I like a lot of odd music. I'm looking through the import bin, and there's these Psychic TV albums. I'm like, well, what the hell is this? And I brought them home, and I was like, I love this. I was, and
Mm.
so when they played in the area, I managed to hook up an interview, and I went to my wife and I went to the venue, and it turned out that the guy at the venue uh, who had been who was booking the acts there knew us from Thelemic Arts Center. He had been to events at Thelemic Arts Center, and we walked in, and he's like, "Oh, it's you guys! You guys are my heroes!" And he
Mm.
said that just as Genesis walked in,
Okay.
and and Genesis was like, "Heroes! I like heroes!" And so we had a good laugh, and we ended up like spending the afternoon sitting on their tour bus and hanging out. We got to be friends. Actually, when it was time to publish Future Ritual, uh, I had hoped that Bob Wilson would write the introduction. He had said that he would, but unfortunately, just around that time, his wife had a stroke, and so he politely declined, and he gave me a nice jacket blurb instead, which was very nice. And so there was a gap to be filled. So I called up Genesis and I said, "Hey, you want to write an introduction?" And he was like, "Sure, yeah, what the hell." And he wrote an awesome introduction for it, kind of
Yeah.
slightly mind blowing. And
The only book, I
uh,
think we have two books of yours in our library. There's Future Ritual and then the Meta Magic, the Book of Adam, I think, or
oh, okay, all right,
we have
all right.
those.
Well, you're
Yeah.
missing a bunch of them.
Yeah. Brain Magic is the new one that you have,
Right.
the revised edition,
So,
right?
right. Brain Magic has been out for, I don't know, a dozen years or so. But it went out of, they sold out the print run at the original publisher, and uh, so it was immediately snapped up by another publisher, uh,
Hmm.
which I was very happy. And they have released a new edition, which it's just, I don't know. I like it even better than the first edition. It's just
Yeah,
uh,
it's got the same design as like kind of like the Languages of Magic by Toby Chappelle. It's got that
yeah,
kind
it's
of
got it
design
right,
to it, you know what I mean?
right. And I liked it. I like it. They did a really cool. I mean, it's a more magical looking book.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like more grimoire type style,
than the
kind of.
person. Right, right. It looks more like a grimoire or something. And that just came out. I just got mine last week, and so those are available where weirder books are sold.
Hmm,
So
okay.
every
Did you, oh, back to Genesis. Did you ever read the Psychic, is it the Psychic Bible? Did you ever,
sure,
you read, you read
copies
that one? That's a big book there.
Bible,
Uh,
and probably heard most of that information right from his mouth at various
hmm,
times.
right.
Uh,
That makes sense.
and I don't know if you were the
Hmm,
Temple of Psychic Youth.
yeah.
See, I'm not a joiner. I don't like join
Joining
organizations
organizations. Ah,
like that. But I'm friends. I think I learned this from Robert Anton Wilson. He never really joined any of these organizations, but he was always friends and connected with all of them.
well, he's always
And
converting people to Discordian Pope way, right?
right, right. Well, and of course, we are all Discordian popes,
Yeah.
and uh, you know, we could actually ordain everybody right now if you'd like.
Yeah,
That would
all
be
our
good.
listeners right here. We want to ordain the Discordian Pope
That's
way.
right. So
How about that?
here we go.
How do we do that? All right.
Spectacles, testicles, brandy, cigars. You are all popes. Okay, your
Uh,
first task as pope, however, is to excommunicate all the other popes. So that's
okay.
Scordian one.
Starting one. Hey, have you read Gabriel Kennedy's book, Chapel Perilous: The Thought
I have
Crimes of
not.
Anton Wilson?
Uh, Gabe interviewed me as one of his sources for the book, and he very nicely sent me a copy. I have not yet had a chance to sit down, and I'm looking for a nice
Okay.
space of time to really just absorb that and enjoy it.
Yeah, you should be able
Uh,
to read that in a couple sittings. It was pretty breezy.
right,
It's pretty engaging. I liked it. And I was interested. It was interesting to me that Robert Anton Wilson actually practiced the Lotus Sutra, the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, like Nichiren
sure.
Buddhism and stuff. And I thought I never knew that. So that
He
was
he practiced. He would experiment with almost any technique that he found,
mm,
and so there was really like a very wide and diverse range of things that he had explored and practiced, from Wicca to Buddhism to Hinduism to, I mean, he really explored all of it, again, without actually like joining.
actually
Without,
doing anything. So he's like the
you
meta
know,
agnostic, or
right. He would have practiced that mantra, but not become a Buddhist, right?
mm,
Um,
yeah.
as such, right? I guess that's kind of the model agnostic, or the Discordian way of doing it. Um, but I'm when I find out that he practiced some particular thing, I'm never really surprised. When I first met him, I've been practicing hypnosis and NLP and stuff.
Oh yeah, how's that with the hypnotherapist? Hypnotherapy, that's what your main gig is, or
Right, that's my day job.
okay.
Um, and so I've been studying and practicing hypnosis actually since I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, my dad, who was a physicist, worked his way through college as a stage magician, and part of his act was a stage hypnosis act.
Hmm.
And so in my house when I was growing up, there was a whole shelf of books on hypnosis, and I was told at an early age, don't read those; those are for adults, whatever. So of course I
Hmm.
had to.
You had to read
Right,
them.
right. So around age 10 or 11, I was, recruiting my friends to practice hypnosis with,
Now
and
you say the hypnosis, recreating psychedelic experiences through hypnosis. You're able to. It was in the article you wrote about
yeah, sure.
um MDMA or something like that, as far as using
Yes,
under hypnosis.
right. There is that article that I wrote many years ago about anchoring with MDMA.
Anchoring.
Uh,
Hmm.
right, anchoring is, think of it as like a simplified form of Pavlovian conditioning, right? So,
Uh,
if I ring the bell after we've done that, if I ring the bell instead of drooling, you're going to have a psychedelic experience,
oh, and when you
right?
snap your fingers type of deal, right?
Sure, yeah, something like that, right?
Hmm.
Right. Anchoring is sort of the basis of the post hypnotic response, or whatever. You can set things up so that we have natural anchors to all different things. Like when your phone rings, right? It's a phone call, right? It's an
Hmm.
anchor, and you may find your hand reaching for the phone before you even think about it, right?
Hmm.
You
Right.
have an immediate response to it. And those of us who have like different ringtones for different people and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? You'll have a different anchored response to each of those, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know,
Huh.
oh shit, my mom,
Right,
so
right. Dun, 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 dun.
right.
That's my ringtone for mom. So now,
Oh, there you go.
or it's
All right,
like,
she's not laughing now.
or it's mostly some Wagner stuff, like whoa, whatever. No, I'm
Right.
kidding,
So
mom. I love you, mom.
yeah.
But how about what is this great? I was looking up your the wiki docs, and they said there was a
Okay.
book that you wrote, The Great Purple Woohoo, or what is it called? again? The Great.
Great Purple Hoo-Ha. Yeah.
That's a fiction.
Yeah. I I write nonfiction about magic, but I actually prefer to write fiction. It's
Oh.
it's much it's much more fun to write fiction.
Okay.
So there's two novels out there now, maybe three if you really look hard.
Hmm.
Uh, but there's The Great Purple Hoo-Ha, which came out in two volumes. And that's a fun, the novels they're fantasy novels with a good dose of humor. And I'm not sure who, one reviewer said it was like, I don't know, equal, uh, if, I don't know, if Robert Anton Wilson and Tom Robbins had a love child or something like that.
Oh,
Right.
okay. That's
Okay.
pretty
So,
surreal, psychedelic.
yeah, well, yeah, right. Which I thought that was great. The two of my favorite writers. So uh, the Great Purple Hoo-Ha is it's a novel I wrote. I used to live in Poughkeepsie, New York,
Hmm.
and which is a deeply weird little city. And Poughkeepsie is an Indian word, ancient Indian word that means little crack house down by the river. And
Oh.
no,
Well, it's not like
it,
Laurel Canyon or something or anything like the Laurel Canyon.
no. Uh, Poughkeepsie has gotten better over the years. This is I lived there, like 30 years ago,
Okay.
but or even longer. But it's gotten better since then. Back then, it was the murder capital of the East, and my wife and I moved out when we realized that we were sleeping through the gunfire that was happening outside our window. So I always wanted to write a horror novel that took place in Poughkeepsie
Hmm.
because it's just such a weird old place. Um, but instead, I ended up writing a humorous novel.
Wow. Oh, ironic.
Although for some reason Amazon listed it as erotic horror or something for a while.
Erotic
I do not
horror?
buy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't.
Wow. Huh.
I can't figure
I
how
thought
they
that's like
got that.
Anne Rice books, right? Is that what we're going to get into? When the Beauty and
Yeah,
Punishment, stuff like that. Huh.
eventually they somehow they updated it and they changed it to like fantasy humor or whatever it should have
Fantasy.
been. I mean, it does have some erotic parts in it, but that's
Oh.
not the gist.
It's just like some
Uh,
parts in the Illuminatus trilogy, right? Like you got some freaky stuff going on there in the Illuminatus trilogy sometimes.
right.
Eh, or even like
And
Anton Wilson's book, Sex Magic. Or is it, where's that? Yeah, that's the
sex,
one.
drugs, and magic. Yeah.
Yeah, Sex, Drugs, and Magic. That one.
Right. Right. Which I wrote one of the introductions to the new edition of that.
Mm.
Um, since we're talking about Robert Anton Wilson, I will plug
Okay.
Hilaritas Press,
All right.
who have done just a great job of republishing uh, his body of work and even a few things that he hadn't managed to publish during his lifetime. So,
Hmm.
um, go check them out on the web, hilaritas.com. And
Hilaritas. Okay.
yeah,
Right on.
good, great stuff. Lots of good. They're starting to publish other books that are sort of in the same vein as Wilson's stuff.
Now,
Uh,
hmm. How about the eight circuit model of consciousness? Now, did you take that and put that into your work as well, as far as like how you integrate the and also Antero Ali, you've heard of him with the
sure, yeah, yeah,
tech? So
yeah.
you might have
Yeah,
uh,
I knew Montero.
you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
Antero, okay?
right. So I knew him. He passed away a couple
Yeah,
years ago.
like
Um,
20.
the But I was. I mean, those of us who read Tim Leary's Neurologic or Robert Anton Wilson's Prometheus Rising back
Right.
in the day got a good dose of the Eighth Circuit model, and I use it peripherally in my books. I haven't written a book about it. I think there's enough of those right now.
Hmm.
There's actually a few that came out in recent years, um, including Antero had revised and refurbished one of his books uh, right towards the end of his life about the Eighth Circuit model.
Hmm.
Um, all of which are great and definitely worth studying. I do include that, for instance, my book High Magic, which is about cannabis. Um,
Which we had
there's
an interview about before earlier, and like maybe 2020, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course, it was April of
April 20,
20.
2020.
Right, when that came out. So, uh, but there is a chapter in there relating cannabis to the Fifth Circuit, and I discussed that. And I had to do just a little like recap. What is the Eighth Circuit model? But that's it. It got a chapter in there. Um,
Oh,
but
so
it has informed my thinking over the years.
so the Fifth Circuit would be cannabis. What about the other circuits for other ethnogens? Did you have that as a list as well, as far as like what's the first, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth circuits
Well,
for?
I talked about what the circuits relate to in terms of behavior and psychology.
Okay.
I don't think I listed uh, Wilson and Leary had listed various drugs as activators for each of the circuits.
Hmm.
I didn't go that far
Oh,
in mine.
okay.
I didn't really have to. I was writing about cannabis, so
Right.
I did sort of had to set the context of what is the Eighth Circuit model? Why the hell am I even talking about it? So there's that. Um, there are those of us who have studied this who a little maybe a little bit of an argument over which drugs apply to which circuits and stuff. And
Huh.
I think it's maybe a little bit different for everybody.
I thought it was
But
interesting. A friend of mine explained to me it was the 5, 10, and 85%. It has the percentage had to do with 5% or the is like psychedelics and cannabis. 10% is stimulants as far as like cocaine, crystal, and then 85% is alcohol. I thought that was an
okay,
interesting theory way
uh,
of
what
categorizing
percent
drugs. Like it's
of,
like 5% of the world are
of what they use,
is
right?
what the use of it, and the 10% and then is like stimulants and cocaine and uppers and stuff like that. And then
I think
you
that
got
was
the
true up
85%.
until I think that was true up until a few years ago.
Oh,
Now that we have legalization in a large part of the United States,
yeah.
uh, cannabis has actually, in some of the legal states at least, cannabis sales have definitely
Skyrocket.
outdone
Okay.
alcohol sales.
Oh,
Alcohol, particularly here in New York, alcohol sales dropping rapidly, cannabis sales going way up. So I think that's a good thing. That's an advance for our culture.
yeah.
And
It's kind of a interesting deal here in Indiana. We're surrounded by states that are recreational, but Indiana is just not letting go yet. It's kind of like,
yeah,
you
there's
know,
a few states. I think you and I had the conversation of like
yeah.
uh, what state was going to be the last one.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
Legalized.
What did you think it was going to be?
I said South Carolina,
Ah,
and I still believe that. Uh,
okay.
Indiana, you guys will catch up eventually, right?
Yeah. Mm.
The fact that we are surrounded by that's what happened in New York. We were surrounded by states uh, that were legalized, and everybody was just taking a short drive over the border to Massachusetts or New Jersey or something, and buying weed. Uh, so they realized that the money was leaving the state, right? I mean, it was a lot of money that people were driving over to Massachusetts for to buy their weed. So uh, New York has done okay with the legalization. I'm personally, I don't know, I have my complaints, as we all do, about the way it's run and so on. But the fact that it is legal, I mean, I'll say this for every state that has legalized at this point. We're all everybody's fighting over who gets more money, who gets paid, whatever. But it was never about that. It was about legalizing it so we're not fucking putting people in jail anymore,
Mm.
right? And so that's what we've achieved in the states that have legalized, whether it's some whether the dispensaries are run by some big multi-state corporations, which a lot of them are, or if they're little mom and pop operations or whatever. Those are details to work out, but the hard part's been done. Is that they're not knocking on your door and dragging
Mm.
you away in cuffs,
Right.
right? Just
Wow.
for a joint,
Hmm.
So that's a big deal. You know, there is still there's an organization, and I will plug them here, called the
Okay.
Last Prisoner Project,
Hmm.
and they are attempting to free. I mean, there are still people who are serving sentences for cannabis, even in places where it's otherwise legal. And so the Last Prisoner Project is working towards getting them all out of jail.
Hmm.
And uh, which again, that's the big deal on this. So if Google them, you can make a donation to them. Actually, if
Last
you
Prisoner
go
Project. Okay.
Last Prisoner Project. Actually, if you go to Ed Rosenthal's site, edrosenthal.com, if you don't know who Ed is, he's the guy who taught us all how to grow weed back in the 1980s. He, I think he still has this up there where you can buy some of his books, which are just awesome, and the money from your purchase will go to the Last Prisoner Project. So.
Okay.
Uh, so you'll get some great cannabis books, and also help out some people who are unjustly
Yeah,
doing time.
unjustly. That makes me think of the Neil Cassidy story where he got busted for two joints in the car or something like that. And
Sure,
then
back then it was I mean, the whole reason that cannabis became illegal was Nixon's lust for busting hippies and so on. So there were a bunch of people who unjustly served time for Leary. They tried busting him for all kinds of things over the years and weren't able to. And
yeah.
they finally planted a roach in his car, and he was sentenced for like 10 years or something for a roach in the car that wasn't even his.
Hmm.
And uh, he escaped famously. But they were going to make a movie about that, or
Because he
with
was famously cellmates with or neighbors with Charles Manson, wasn't he? Timothy
he
Leary?
was he was like in the next cell
The
or
next
whatever.
cell.
So
Okay,
he
gotcha.
was able to talk to him,
Yeah.
which which from Leary's writings about it, weirded him out a little bit, but was also kind of a strange opportunity to
Right.
peer into the mind of evil or something. I mean, Leary was a psychologist. That was he's got to raise some interest, right? Uh, uh, so I think from what I read about it, I think Manson was more interested in Leary than Leary was interested in Manson.
Yeah. That
So.
makes me think of Chaos. Have you read that book yet? As far as like Chaos, it's like Charles Manson, MK Ultra, and the CIA in the 1960s. That's the subtitle, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the author.
No, I haven't read it, but I know who you're talking about. Was that John Higgs? One of his?
Hmm. See, now I got to look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. I think it became a Netflix series too.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out. Uh, Interesting and a little creepy.
Oh,
There
Tom
was there was
O'Neill. Tom O'Neill was the author of
Oh, okay. All right. All right. There is another one. I think John Higgs wrote a similar
oh,
uh,
okay.
on a similar topic uh, about those years. And there's been a few writers who have done that. Uh, it
Interesting.
was it was a weird time.
Yeah,
So
let's get back to your book about brain magic. How many exercises are in that book? Is there like
uh,
72 or
I never counted them, but the publisher in their blurbs always says there over 70 exercises. So
yeah, that's what I
uh,
thought. The number was 70.
we'll take their word for it. I haven't gone through and counted,
Huh.
uh, but
And you
uh,
have a lot of workshops through Brain Magic. Is that the thing for you as far as workshops are concerned? Brain Magic workshops? Or
well, an awful lot of the material in the book developed out of the workshops that I did.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Essentially, I don't really write about magical techniques unless I've not only tried them myself, but tested them out with a test audience, I guess. Um,
Like the Book of the Law,
uh,
you didn't speak to AWAS or did the
right,
HCA, the
right,
Holy
yeah,
Guardian Angel. Huh.
yeah. So I mean, it has to, the stuff. It has to for all of us,
Hmm.
there's certain kind of magic techniques or meditation techniques or things that work really well for us, but mean nothing to anybody else, right?
Hmm.
So I was looking for stuff that was maybe a little bit more universal that
Okay.
pretty much anybody could pick up the book and experiment with the exercises and get some kind of result. So that was one of my original guidelines are when I first started teaching magic, good Lord, in the mid 80s, I guess. I don't know.
Hmm.
Long time ago. Um, I started teaching the more traditional stuff, like the lesser vanishing ritual, the pentagram, and you rituals like that. And which was fine, and they were good. I had fun teaching the workshops, but it wasn't stuff that people would have an experience. I mean, you do one of those rituals, yeah, you feel a little different, whatever, but they're not going to have like a real transformative experience right there in the workshop,
Hmm.
right? I mean, it's the kind of ritual that you have to do it every day for, they used to
However long for.
yeah, the Golden Dawn used to require that you had to do it every day for a year before they would give you any more information about magic.
Hmm.
Um, you know, so I wanted to have things that I could demonstrate on the spot, right? That I could come into a place, do a workshop, and demonstrate some magic, and people would go like, okay, yes, I get it, right? I feel the change, I understand what's happening, and so on. So I started collecting different, I don't know, techniques and inventing them and combining magic with NLP and stuff, so that I would have a body of work that I could take to workshops and actually do it right there and demonstrate it, and people would have an experience of what was supposed to happen with the ritual, right on the spot. So brain magic evolved out of that. It's mostly stuff that people can experiment with over time. It starts out simpler and gets into more advanced stuff. So there was stuff that came out of more advanced workshops, obviously.
Hmm.
But for the most part, again, it was just all the idea was things I could demonstrate, on the spot. So uh, the book includes not only the exercises but a little background in like the neuroscience of what the exercise addresses and how they work and so on.
Okay.
So
You said
it's fun. It's
NLP, combining NLP with magic. So that's neuro linguistic programming.
Yeah, neurolinguistic
Right.
programming, sure. And neurolinguistic programming. I was discussing this with a friend the other day who, she said that she viewed NLP as kind of a distillation of the more practical side of psychology,
Hmm.
and I like that idea. It is, but it's a little more than that. I think Bandler and Grinder, the founders, were. Uh, they were prescient. They were able to observe human behavior and to deduce different techniques and ways of doing things that uh, were definitely ahead of their time, and stuff that was much later. I mean, decades later, confirmed by neuroscience. Right, like
Hmm.
for years, people they talk about how you develop rapport using mirroring and matching techniques and things like that. And for a lot of the history of this, there are people who just argued like, or that does that work or it doesn't work or blah blah blah. until finally there was a breakthrough in neuroscience where they discovered the concept of mirror neurons,
Mm,
and we know they were, that's exactly what Bandler and Grinder were describing, you know, 20, 30 years before mirror neurons were discovered. So, and just strictly based on their observation of people, which, is that's pretty far out right there. That's pretty amazing that they that good at observing people that they could deduce neuroscientific principles, long before there were, functional MRI machines and PET scans and things like that. So
yeah.
cool stuff.
How about festivals, conferences, seminars, lectures? Have we done any of these? Like I said something
Oh,
about the
no, not me.
symposium. Wait a minute. The Starwood
I,
Festival and Winter Star Symposium presenting.
yeah, the Winter Star Symposium just ended. That was last weekend.
Oh.
Uh, Winter Star used to be an in-person event in a place in Southern Ohio. It was in a ski lodge in Southern Ohio. It was awesome. It was very, very cozy and luxurious, and it's the same group that promoted the Starwood Festival for years. And Starwood, which it's going on its 40th something, 41st year or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, Starwood has always been a camping event where you go, it takes place in a campsite, and some people have referred to it as the Burning Man of the East, even though it's
Oh.
a older than Burning Man. If anything,
Right.
Burning Man
Okay.
is the
Huh.
Starwood of the West. But Starwood's also it's more Burning Man is sort of like a survival challenge, right? You have to truck in everything that you're going to need for the week, and you're on your own for that, and you got to camp out, and even the desert where it is like a little bit toxic, and you have to keep cleaning the dust up. Starwood has always been in campgrounds that were just, there were showers and hot tubs and food service and whatever. So they're now at a place called Wisteria Campground,
Oh.
which is in near Athens, Ohio, and Wisteria is a very, very nice campground, and there's, you know, yes, actually, if you have an RV or something like that, you can come and stay in your RV, or,
Hmm.
uh, but even if you stay in a tent, it's still pretty civilized. You can go get a hot shower. You can go to the food court and get a good meal, whatever. So it's not survival camping by any
Hmm.
means. Um, so I mean, you could bring your own food. A lot of people do bring their own food and do their own cooking over their campfire, and that's fun too, right?
Hmm.
But you don't have to. You could just go and get on the meal plan there, and go eat in the food court, and the food's pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, they always have every year they have over 150 different workshops, a lot of great presenters. Uh, you know, they used to back in the day. Uh, Tim Leary, Terrence McKenna, Robert Anton Wilson were all
Oh,
regular
about
regular presenters.
Terrence McKenna. So you met Terrence McKenna?
I never met Terrence in person,
Oh.
although I did have a few interesting phone conversations with him over the years.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
he was a character. He was, uh, always fun to talk to. He sort of had the gift of gab.
Right.
An Irish guy who truly kissed the Blarney Stone. But
Uh,
and he would say things like that. I'm not, but always fun to talk to. Towards the end of his life, he was going to do a festival in Hawaii called the Alchemical Arts Festival, and he wanted me to come out and be a presenter there. And then it was just right at the time that he was diagnosed with cancer, and the whole thing got canceled. So I that was my chance to go meet him in person and
hmm.
go do something with him. But uh, you know. Didn't happen. Um, my phone conversations with him were always very odd. This is Terrence McKenna we're talking about.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
One time, my wife and I had dinner with Bob Wilson, and Bob had just gotten back from Europe, where they had made a film with him and Terrence McKenna and I forget, there was somebody else. Um, but anyway,
Oh, is that Rupert
uh,
Sheldrake, or is
it
that?
might have been Rupert. I'll have to check that and jog my memory on that. Uh, but somehow we're having dinner, and the topic of Terrence McKenna came up, and Bob looks at me and goes, "He is such a weird cat," and and
Like his
uh,
intonation, his tone of voice was
but
like his alien. It's like his super
yeah,
alien. It was, yeah, he's very entertaining. I could watch him for
right. So
that's many hours.
right. So Robert Anton Wilson was a guy who knew weird when he saw it, and he'd been there. So that was funny. So we shared. He had more weird Terrence stories than I did, but I had a couple of them just from the phone calls. Uh, so uh, fun stuff, and I still, uh, yeah, right. Like the sound of his voice being a little bit alien. There's that
Yeah,
Spangle tune where they
yeah,
sample him,
yeah, yeah. Right.
right?
It's
Uh,
what was that? The video, was it the Archaic Revival, or no? Wait, it was Dreamwave Zero or something, like Time Wave
time
Zero. Yeah, that's
time
what.
wave zero,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So fun stuff. These are guys who particularly Bob Wilson. I wish they were still around. I miss those
yeah.
guys. Miss
Yeah.
him every day about
How
him.
about the new upcoming magic writers like Don Webb, Toby Chappelle? You're involved with
Okay.
them somewhat?
Sure. Well, Don Webb is not new by any means.
Well,
Don's been
new to
around,
me.
right?
I mean, I don't know. That's just that the names Toby and Don have just came up
Right.
recently, the last couple of years for me.
Right. Don was at one time the high priest of the Temple of Set. One of
Michael Aquino, right? That's his.
Yes, he followed Michael Aquino as the high priest,
Okay.
and uh, uh, he's one of the most knowledgeable people about magic on the planet. Um, I
Hmm.
don't know. People have weird ideas about Michael Aquino. He was,
Yeah, there's that book Transformation that kind of accuses him of satanic child or
yeah,
satanic
right.
school abuse or something.
Pedophile and
Yeah,
all
that's
that
the
stuff.
one. Yeah.
I don't know. I never met him, but I do know. I know Don pretty well, and I also know the current high priest of Set, and they're very cool people.
Yeah.
They're you know they're some of the most Antifa people that I know. Right? Uh,
Oh, Stephen Flowers, Edred. Are you familiar with
right. Sure.
Edred?
Sure. Stephen
Stuff like
Flowers,
yeah.
aka Agent Thorson.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm Facebook friends with him. I don't know him personally,
Ah, okay.
but his books are very cool.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, some of his organizations that he started that were dedicated to Norse magic and based in Norse mythology were taken over by Nazis, and
Oh, wow.
and he had to like disavow. Is like, no, I no longer have anything to do with this stuff.
I
Not
also
cool.
wrote that one book where you had like revisionist Germanic lore, the Northern Dawn, I think it was called. But he
Who
has the
who
Northern
did
Dawn.
that?
Stephen Flowers.
Stephen Flowers. Yeah, I haven't read all of his books. I have one of his books on runes,
Yeah.
which is very interesting, and so on. But he was, himself definitely not a Nazi,
Yeah.
and a freedom loving individual.
Characters. It
So
makes me think of Peter Lavenda. You familiar
right,
with his
sure, yeah.
work? Yeah, he was like Nazi occultism and stuff like that.
Right, right. Yeah, well, I mean, the Nazis were they were very some of them were very involved in the occult, and um, not necessarily to their credit. uh,
Mm.
I mean, they confused a lot of like Blavatsky's ideas, which were weird to begin with.
Yeah.
Like the
Then they
whole
did
idea
that
of the
Black Sun mythology thing with the castle with I think is I can't remember if it was the inner circle of the Black Sun was like part of the Gestapo stuff or the inner sanctum of the Nazis. Are you familiar?
yeah.
Or like-
I don't know too much about that.
Yeah, that's like it's pretty much mythological for me still. Like
Right.
I'm researching it right now, but like there's this one called Black Sun by Peter Moon. You familiar with that writer? So there's
I've seen the book, but have not read it yet.
yeah.
So,
Oh.
and I don't know him personally, but I have seen the book.
Yeah, I'm Facebook
Uh,
friends with up. I interviewed him a couple times with the Montauk
Interesting.
Project stuff. There was a couple episodes I did with him. Uh,
Yeah. Well, they were the Nazis were definitely into the occult, and again, not always to their credit. Usually not. The whole idea of like the Aryans as a race is just complete historical bullshit.
yeah.
The Aryans, who are more properly called the Indo-Iranians or the
Oh,
Indo-Europeans.
Indo-Europeans. That's what Stephen Flowers wrote a
Right.
book like that, Original
Yeah,
Magic, about the Purge and Magi.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where an awful lot of our magical tradition does come from. But they were not a race, right? They were not a unified group of people. They were a collection of tribes,
Right.
and some of them may have looked like me, some of them may have looked like you, some of them may have had uh, different Asiatic look
Mm.
or African look or whatever. But there were a bunch of different tribes who were under this one sort of kingdom, or I don't know. Back then, kingdoms were different. They were more like trade routes or trade groups or things like that. Um, and
Oh, that makes
uh,
me think of the Tartar, like the conspiracy with Tartarian architecture. You
sure,
familiar with
right?
that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. So they do the Indo-Europeans eventually passed along a lot of their magical traditions to some of the civilizations that followed, including the Thracians, the Scythians, and so on. And the Scythians did an amazing job of spreading their sacramental ritual from India to the Celtic Islands. Uh, they were probably the most highly mobile people who had ever existed on the planet at that point in time, because they had learned how to tame horses, and they had wheels and things like that other civilizations didn't have. So they're often considered that they conquered this huge empire, but really what they did was they opened up trade routes, which is
Hmm.
with the Silk Road, and so on. But they brought the magical sacraments with them, and when they got into India, it became the Indra worship and the Shiva worship. When it got into uh, Europe, it became some of the Norse stuff like Freya and things like that. Uh, Kind of evolved out of one of their goddesses, Tabiti, and so on. So um,
Hmm.
it's interesting stuff.
How about how long did it take you to write Cannabis Magic? Was so because that's the most controversial book there. So as far as
Okay.
like
Well, on one hand, it took me most of my life, but on the it's really stuff. I mean, I learned. I'm okay. There's a scene in an old Cheech and Chong movie where
hmm,
Tommy Chong says, someday soon weed's going to be legal, and I'm going to know so much about it that I'm just going to have a job right away.
hmm,
Right. So to some extent, it's like that. I've been a lifelong cannabis enthusiast. And so there was an awful lot of it
Are you familiar?
in my brain, literally and figuratively. And but when I actually sat down to, it's time to write a book about it, um, I dived into some heavier research, and it was probably about 3 or 4 years of uh, doing historical research and the magical research and so on before I was really able to put it all together in a book. And then it was like another year before it went to the publisher, and uh, they went to the publisher in 2019, and they were just so tickled with the idea that it had to be released on April of 2020 that it took a year to get published. That was all right.
That's good
That was
timing.
fine.
That's good timing. Yeah.
Although it was bad timing another way, was that was the start of the
Yeah, the
pandemic.
pandemic. Yeah.
So I didn't really get to go
Lockdown.
around and promote the book the way I would have normally done.
Phil,
Uh,
I want to thank you for coming out, man. We're about to wrap it up here soon. What we got planned for the future and Future Magic? We got another book you're gonna write, or what do you think?
oh, I will undoubtedly write another book. I've been sporadically working on another novel. Hopefully, I'll be able to spend a little bit more time working on that and get that done. That's my fun stuff. Uh, uh, I do have this. There's events coming up.
Oh yeah,
I
what's that?
will in March. I will be here. Let me look at the calendar so I get the dates right. I will be in Rockford, Illinois, at a place called the McPherson, doing a cannabis magic event. Illinois legalized a few years ago,
Rockford.
and
Is that near Chicago?
it
Or is
is
it?
near Chicago. So
Okay.
I don't know, hour so away, something like that. Not too far from Chicago. Uh, and that will be March 28th.
Okay.
uh, from 1 to 5 p.m. I am actually in the process of creating a Facebook page for it now, so that should be up pretty soon. What else do we got going on? In April 25th, I'll be in Pennsylvania doing another uh, cannabis related workshop. Um, Again, we haven't quite promoted that one yet, but my website is getting an overhaul, and that should be up later this week. You can check metamagic.com, META hyphen magic with a K.com. And uh, that should have I'll get all these events up there. And then of course the summer again in July will be the Starwood Festival, which is just my favorite event of the year. And that's a whole week of workshops and lots of fun. I usually do 2 or 3 workshops there, and you have other great presenters there as well. So
Hell yeah,
lots of fun.
man. Awesome. Well, I think we can say you got any concluding remarks here you want to put in as far as concluding the
Yeah,
conclusion? I'm just
yeah. As a conclusion, I don't know. Thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And
thanks.
folks can uh, if my website's not fully up this week, it should be. But if it's not, you can certainly go to Amazon, stick my name in. You'll find all my books, or just Google. And if you don't like Amazon, it's on every other you
Right.
know
Yeah. You don't like
book
Amazon. You want to boycott
book
Amazon?
vendor. So
Okay.
check out the new edition of Brain Magic if you have a chance.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I'm gonna get got a copy of Cannabis Magic. I don't have any I don't have that one yet, but
okay, yeah, yeah,
get that
well,
one.
I just got mine, so nobody's
Yeah.
had them yet.
Right on. Okay, Phil. Cool.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yep, thank you. All right. Bye.
Okay. Take care.
Yep.